Okay, so now we have our nice dough that's been rested to room temperature that we took out. You see how it's puffed up nicely from yesterday. Right. And I'm going to show you guys how to open up the dough properly and make a nice crust. Okay, the crust is going to help contain the sauce and the cheese. And we'll get into how much we're not going to put or put. Because when it comes to cheese, a little goes a long way. You don't want to have too much cheese and sauce and toppings because it's going to pour off onto the pizza stone, which we don't want. Alright, so we'll start with a little flour first. Now we don't want too much flour, so remember, pinch the flour and just shoot it across sideways. Okay. You can always add more flour, you can't take also oil. Flour up your hands really nicely. Now grab your dough ball gently, you don't want to crease it, you want to keep that shape. Okay. Maybe just a little bit of flour on top. And we'll lightly punch it down, just like we've done with other breads with our pizza frita. You see some of those natural bubbles. Alright, so just keep punching it lightly, okay? And this part, we'll start to make our crust. And there's a few techniques. My technique that I like to do the most is to use your 2-3 fingers in the front and twist. So you're kind of going like this and forming the crust and then twisting and kind of like that. And I'm pressing these 3 fingers up against my hand and twisting it, okay? And I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. And now I can start using both fingers in the front and both hands. I'm doing this just a little slower, but you want to make sure you have good traction. Okay, now I'm going to start spreading it out like this, just by pushing gently away. Flip it over, do the same thing like this here. I'm using my fingertips, and then like we've done before with the pizza frita, we can throw it back and forth against the wrists or where our arm meets our wrist. Okay. Okay. And then now we're kind of going to do this thing where we wave hello, and I'm pulling from the outside out. Like I'm not pulling from here, I'm pulling from here. And I'm pushing out. You're not going to pull from the middle because you're going to tear the dough. Alright, so we're almost there. We still got our nice crust. It's still a little thick in the middle. Just spread it out like that. Takes a while to get a nice perfect shape. Okay, and if you want to, you can kind of do one of these things. Okay, use your knuckles, don't use your fingers because it'll tear right through. Okay, but we're going to go like this. Just slightly stretch from the sides. We're not stretching from the middle because we don't want to tear it. Kind of like waving goodbye to somebody. Okay, but you see I have nice traction here. And also doing this helps get excess flour off. Okay, and then we're about to ready to put it on our peel. Alright, so we're pretty good now. Alright, so I got it where I want it to be. I got a nice thickness here, and you can see all those bubbles from the fermentation. Okay, and it's just the gravity is stretching it a little more. So now let's get to our peel. Okay, so this is a peel. This is a smaller peel, if we can see it here, than what you would see in a pizzeria, and it's much shorter because we're using it in our oven here. So some people like to put cornmeal or semolina. I like to, but sometimes in a conventional oven at home, in a deck oven, it causes it to burn and scorch, so we don't want a lot of smoke. So this time around, we're just going to use a little bit of flour. And the same thing, too much flour will burn as well. I like to just rub it in like this a little bit and get the excess off. And you should be able to take your dough and just go right under. Some people like to build the pie on top like this, so that it's easy to slide on and off. But if you have a good dough, you should just be able to go right under like this. Okay? You have to make sure there's just the right amount of flour. You don't want too much or too little. So let's get this guy on here and start building him. Okay? So I have my spoodle here, which will help to distribute it evenly. So we have a nice about 10-inch or so personal pizza. So we're going to go about maybe 3 ounces and go from the middle out. So we'll put some in here, and we can always put more, but we'll start using this end here and just lightly just spread it out in a circular motion. You want to contain the sauce mostly to the middle. Don't go all the way to the edge, because then as it cooks, it's going to start sliding off the pie into the oven. Okay, so that's about good right there. This is what you want to avoid. I'll wipe that off before I put it in the oven, because when I want to slide this onto my stone, that will definitely impede our progress. So let me get that cleaned up real quick. Okay, so I wiped that little sauce off, so now we're going to give it a little test, and you see it's not sticking, which is good. If you think it's sticking, just put a little bit on the front. Even I could put it like that, put some flour in the front and scrape it right on, and it'll still come on like that, so it's nice. So now we're gonna put the cheese, and you always grate your mozzarella. Never get pre-shredded mozzarella. You have to get a nice block like we have here, just put it on there. So a little goes a long way, especially with these personal pizzas. Okay, you want them to go here, and you can experiment with different toppings, flavors. You know, I have some mushrooms today, I have some jalapenos, some Kalamata olives, some fresh rosemary is nice. But you may think I'm being cheap with the cheese, but I'm not. You don't want to have too much because then it's going to be a disaster. So that's pretty much as you want for this size pizza, okay, without it falling all over the place, okay. So now I'm going to season a little bit. I'm also going to slide, make sure it still slides, okay. It's not going to stick when I go put it in the oven, all right. Okay, I like to put a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, just a little bit, like a touch on top, also helps the color. Just drizzle it. I'm not pouring it on, I'm just letting it fall out of the bottle. In New York, we like a lot of oregano, so I'm going to put my smuggled Greek oregano from the mountains of Kefalonia, okay, and just sprinkle some of that on top. Susie's laughing in the background, okay. Some people will add some salt and pepper. You don't have to. I'm making this a real New York style, maybe some shredded or grated Parmigiano Reggiano on top to help with color and flavor and taste, okay. So right now, we're about good to go. It's still sliding, so that means I'm gonna have good success when I put it in the oven. So this is how you want this to be right before you put it in, okay? Not too much cheese, not too much sauce. All right, so let's get this on the stone. All right, so I got my oven here. I got my oven thermometer. I'm gonna take the temperature on my stone, and we're gonna open this all the way down. Take the temperature with the stone, on the stone right now. It's about 550 degrees. As you can see here, it's still sliding nicely. So I'm gonna go here gently, kind of tilt it a little bit, and just let it slide in, and then close the oven, okay? You wanna do that in one confident swipe, and not too hard because you don't wanna get to the back of the oven where it's gonna cause an inferno, and you're gonna have a bad time, all right? So let's wait 3-4 minutes for this guy to be ready, and we'll turn him halfway through. Now let's see halfway through. Yeah, okay, it's nicely bubbling up. I'm just gonna quickly go in, confidently, right under, bring it out, give it a turn, put it back in. Another couple of minutes. I know some of you guys may not have my kitchen fingers. You could use tongs instead. All right, let's check on our guy right now, real quick. We should, okay, there we go. Confidently go in again. Let's pull it up. So we got that nice brown crust. Okay, let's take them and cut them up real quick. So now we got our pizza here. There's a nice crust here. Okay, take them off. Okay, and now we're going to cut using our thing, and usually go 6 cuts with this. We'll just do, I guess, 6 pieces instead of 8. So we'll go, you go in once like this, and you go across. No sawing. Okay, turn it. You hear that nice crunch? Okay, that crunch is from the stone, and that's something you can't get just on a regular pan. You have to use a pizza stone, and you can see here, and you can hear the crispiness of the crust, okay, and that nice color. That's what you get from using a stone and getting that color. It absorbs all the moisture, and you get that beautiful crust, and you can hear the nice snap. Okay, I hope you enjoy this project. I hope you experiment with different toppings. Now me and Susie are going to eat this pie.